My entitled sister tries to falsely accuse me of buying drinks for her party, and after I'm proven innocent, my mom demands that I take the fall for it just so her favorite child, my sister, doesn't have to go to jail. And I am still blown away by this level of entitlement, as well as the actions of my mom and my sister. Here's what happened. So this happened some years ago. I'm in my 30s now, but back then I was 22. My sister was 18 and was my mom's golden child. My dad thankfully has a good head on his shoulders and always called my sister out on her garbage. But my mom's interference always meant my sister got off easy anyways. This is what happened back then. My parents decided to take a vacation to ski in Aspen and let my sister watch the house for them. They told her no parties, but that was a rule she straight up ignored. A day after our parents left, my sister started sending out invites to a party, and she was promising free alcohol. Now, I didn't see that post yet, but my sister called me and asked me to go get alcohol for her party because I was over 21 and I could legally buy it. She also wanted me to pay for it and said she'd invite me to the party as well as introduce me to an easy girl in order to pay me back. I told her that I wasn't going to break the law to make her happy. She should have never told people that her party would have alcohol. She screamed at me over the phone that I was ruining her life and that she couldn't take back the invites now that they were all over Facebook. I looked at her post and I facepalmed. I told her that what she did was really stupid and she and her friends were all underage, so it's illegal. She then tried to say that it would only be illegal if I narked on them. I said I wouldn't narc, but I wasn't going to buy her any alcohol either. She screamed at me some more, and so I just hung up the phone. Well, that night my sister had the party, and someone called the police for underage drinking. After being arrested and confronted by the police later on, my sister threw me under the bus and said that I'd supplied the alcohol that she was using. It turns out she actually broke into my dad's liquor cabinet and thought it would be better to frame me for her crime. The police came and arrested me at my apartment the day after the party. They seemed already convinced I was guilty and didn't really listen to me when I said I was never there, but I willingly cooperated with them. At the station, I told them the whole story, and I got them to look at my sister's Facebook post. Thankfully, there were a few people there who listened to me, but I still had to sit the night out in a cell while my parents were called. My mom and dad flew back home overnight and bailed out both my sister and myself, but my mom tried to make my dad leave me in jail because my sister had told them her lies as well. But my dad took the time to talk to me and look at my sister's Facebook post, so he believed me. This caused a fight between him and my mom, and when they got home, my dad discovered my sister had broken into his liquor cabinet and spoke to the police on my behalf. My mom, however, still wanted the blame to fall on me because, as she put it, the charges were ruining her baby's future. But my innocence was further proven by the fact that I and my car were seen on CCTV when I left work, and when I arrived home soon after, as the apartment I was living in then had CCTV cameras to watch the parking lot, and my car did not move from there for the rest of the day, as well as the night. In my sister's story to the police, I had driven out and gotten alcohol for her, but I wasn't seen on camera in any liquor store in the county, and my bank account showed no transactions buying alcohol. My parents' house also had a camera at the front door, and my car was never seen in the driveway that day. After being confronted with all those facts, my sister's story changed to saying that I had already had the alcohol and I gave it to her at my apartment. But my sister's car had never shown up at my apartment either, and there was like 3 cheap beers in my apartment fridge at that, and no hard alcohol. My sister finally had to give up on her lies, and my parents were severely disappointed in her. But my mom still tried to convince me to take the fall for my sister. She came to my apartment and actually demanded that I tell the police that it was my fault. I said I wasn't going to ruin my future for my sister. She refused to leave and went from demanding to begging. She even got on her knees and tried to convince me that she and my dad would make everything okay in the long run. I just had to take the blame right now. I said I'd rather live my life poor than have that felony on my record. She then threw a huge fit and started throwing things because I refused to do as she wanted. I threatened to call the police, and she left my apartment cussing me out like a mad woman. I've never heard so many curse words out of her before or since, but she kept them up all the way to her car and followed it up by saying that she wished she never had me, all before driving off. I called my dad right away and told him everything that happened. He was insanely upset and got in a huge fight with my mom as soon as she got home. She didn't even deny anything she said or did because she deemed it would have been for the greater good of their daughter. But my dad told her that she couldn't destroy me to save my sister. Then he threatened to divorce her if she didn't try to make things right. She ended up sobbing and then said that she would do whatever he wanted. My dad said that it was couple and family counseling or it was a divorce. My mom signed a prenup before she married him and really had no choice. In the family counseling, I called her out on how she always believed my sister's lies. My sister tried to say they were not lies, but each one I pointed out from over the years said otherwise. I had taken the time to write a list of all the ones I could remember from the past decade that had all been proven that she lied, and my mom and sister were forced to stay silent as I read them all. They tried to interject repeatedly, but my dad and the counselor silenced them. My sister was now proven beyond a doubt to be a liar and a manipulator, and she just shut down and refused to say anything more to the counselor. And my mom finally apologized to me, but it was obviously a forced apology because she looked so uncomfortable doing it. I told her that her apology was very fake, and after so many years of favoritism, the damage was already done. My relationship with her never really recovered because she was convinced I was guilty no matter what she said until my sister admitted the truth, and then wanted me to pretend to be the guilty one anyways, just to protect her favorite child. But nothing went her way, so she just went back to crying all about it. When my sister went to court, my mom pleaded with the judge to go easy on my sister for charges of underage drinking and giving other underage people alcohol, as well as attempting to frame me for her crime. She also resisted arrest when the police came over and shut down the party. She was very under the influence when it happened. They kept her in a cell overnight to sober up, and then she told the police I'd been the one to provide the alcohol. My mom's begging, along with a relentless lawyer my parents hired. Eventually, they got the judge to cut a deal, provided my sister pled guilty, which she did not want to do, but her lawyer highly recommended that she take the deal to avoid jail time because there was no other way of keeping her from getting a felony on her record. My sister's lawyer used the fact that the alcohol had not been bought that day, but rather had already been in the house long before the party happened to lessen the charges overall. My sister's Facebook had also been completely deleted by her as soon as she was able to in order to hide the post. The judge just wanted the case to be over with, so my sister got off with a huge fine that our mom paid most of it out of her own pocket, while also ensuring that she was going to have a couple of years of probation. She was also made to get therapy too by our dad. She's never really showed any actual remorse for what she did though, and only had animosity for me no matter how in the wrong she was. She was eventually diagnosed as a narcissist after dad made her go see a doctor. After her probation and 4 years of college were over, she decided she was going to leave home for California and never come back once she landed a good job. She currently works in an office in LA, and we have not spoken in years. My dad got her that job, and she has not shown any real appreciation for it in the slightest. Even my mom has given up on her ever coming home for the holidays and us being a family again. It tore her up inside for a few years, but now she's just bitter. She doesn't really blame me anymore, but we only seem to show indifference to each other. Now, just because my sister cut off my mom wouldn't make me the new de facto favorite. It just means my mom lost her baby and isn't getting her back. She can't leave my dad because she's too reliant on him. Despite having her own career, she would never want to be on her own again, so she's just become a shell of her former self. Things between me and my dad are still great. He's pretty much disowned my sister for what she's done and stopped caring if she'll ever talk to him again. He and my mom don't even sleep in the same bedroom anymore. She moved into the guest room about 5 years ago and has been staying there. So hopefully things work out in my life and I don't have to deal with my sister ever again. What a crazy circumstance to be stuck in. Your sister not only tried to get you to have a felony, but your mom also literally tried to force you to take the fall for this, all because they clearly have favoritism towards her. And that is not fair at all. Like, that is seriously insane to me. If I was in your shoes, there's no way I would take the fall for this in the slightest. Your sister absolutely got what she deserved. She broke into that cabinet and got the drinks for her and her friends, even though she knew she shouldn't have. And when she got caught red-handed, she tried to blame you. Like, that honestly is crazy to me. So hopefully you don't have to deal with her that much in the future, because she seriously sounds unhinged, and hopefully with her moving across the country, this will hopefully turn out to be a good thing for you and your family in the long run. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. description. My fiancé has not allowed me to have any alone time in almost 8 years, as he is constantly all over me, trying to be involved in my life no matter what. And I am literally at my wits' end, and I seriously don't know what to do. So we first started dating almost 8 years ago. I own my own house, and he rented an apartment. Right off the bat, he started wanting to be together pretty regularly. Initially, I thought it was just the honeymoon phase. I attempted to set boundaries and started by trying to let me have one set day a week to myself. On that day, he would call me with plans and ideas, but then say something like, "Oh, but it's your day to yourself. I guess we can't do anything." So I changed it up to a floating day. That way, if something was going on, he wouldn't feel like it's off limits. Eventually, he would call me crying that I didn't want to see him on those days, and I would cave and let him come over because I would feel horrible. About 3 months in, I invited him to stay over one night, and he essentially never left. He was over all the time, and my ability to have alone time completely disappeared. When I would ask him to give me space, he would say that he doesn't understand why I would need alone time, or vaguely accuse me of cheating because I wanted time away from him. He would tell me that on my car ride to work, I'm alone, so that counts as alone time. If I wanted to go out with friends without him, he would get upset because he didn't understand why I would want space away from him. I would come home and he would give me the silent treatment for a while. I would take the small times when he was at work and I had a day off for my alone time. I've worked full time, so it was a rare occasion, but I needed them. But almost 3 years ago, he completely quit his job. He said he wanted to be a Twitch streamer and he wanted to pursue that. And I don't know what's going on with that because he doesn't want to speak to me about that. This meant that he was home all the time. He schedules time with his friends while I'm working and will only do things while I'm at work. If I get home and he's playing video games with his friends, he will quit the games and come spend time with me. About 2 months ago, he got a new job, but made sure to find something he could work from home to do. Although now he's complaining, and I think he will be quitting that as well. This is not what I want out of my life, but I also don't even know where to begin to get out. If I'm being completely honest, I'm a little afraid of him. He is just always very quick to anger with strangers, and he always has confrontations with others. I have animals to take care of, as well as my elderly mom now, because my dad recently passed away. I'm at my wits' end. I feel like I've completely lost myself, and I don't trust myself at all. I have felt like this isn't healthy, but he is so adamant that I'm wrong, I simply don't know what to think anymore. You need to tell him to buzz off. First off, how did this guy become your fiance? He is acting so weird and so controlling. He is basically trying to interject himself into every aspect of your life. Like literally the time to stand up for yourself was 7 years ago. I would not be able to put up with this for almost a decade. That literally would have been awful. Like, why on earth does he need to spend every waking moment with you? He is clearly just trying to guilt trip you and gaslight you by saying, "Oh, if you're ever away from me, it must mean that you're cheating on me." Like, that's crazy. You don't need that in your life. He is clearly manipulative, and that is honestly very creepy behavior. Can you even imagine having to marry that and permanently dealing with that on a daily basis? That would honestly be pretty obnoxious. So in my opinion, it's not only crazy to put up with this, but even crazier for someone to ask it of you. Like, in my opinion, everybody needs their own space, and everyone needs a social life outside of their partner. And I feel that someone who doesn't give you that kind of space is ultimately having a negative impact in your life. So hopefully you can get this figured out, because what you're describing sounds incredibly exhausting and claustrophobic, and you seriously do not deserve this in the slightest. Today, I messed up by showing my English teacher a short story that I had written, and as a result, my family disowned me and has now kicked me out of the house, all because of this short story, and I'm now seriously stuck in a place where I don't know what to do. So to start things off, I'm an 18-year-old high school student who loves writing. Ever since I was little, I had enjoyed creating stories. However, I could never stick with a story and continue writing it. Recently, I had a dream, and the dream was a wonderful idea for a story. So I had begun writing it, and within a week, I had a short story of the basic idea for a much larger game or book. I yearned for much needed criticism. My writing isn't great, but it's not terrible. However, I can't successfully place my thoughts on paper with few grammatical errors. So let's begin with where I messed up. I live in a small town in Georgia of about 200 people. The town is super religious, and my story was rather graphic. The story in and of itself was a nice love story between two male soldiers set in a post-nuclear apocalyptic setting. The story doesn't have anything sketchy or anything like that, and was simply a love story that happened to be between two men, but the zombies and their descriptions were very graphic. I had finished the short story, and I asked my English teacher for some some much needed feedback. I sent it to her in a Google Doc, and she said she would read it over the break. Well, we come back over break, and my English teacher called my parents and asked for them to come in for a talk. Today, I waited after school for my parents, and they came to the school to talk to my teachers. My parents are, by the way, as you probably can guess, super duper religious, and I was afraid they would be angry due to the graphic content. My English teacher was very upset about the contents of the book, not because of the zombies that got slaughtered, but because of the ungodly relationship, as they described it, between the two main characters. My English teacher would go on to read the story aloud, which not only made me cringe because who actually likes to hear their own writing, but my parents grew very angry with what I thought was a very sweet love story. 4 hours later, my parents have kicked me out of their house. They accused me of being gay when in reality I'm not. I just thought writing a love story between two men would be interesting enough because it's something I could never experience. Currently, I'm staying with a friend and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might just couch hop until I can get off to college in September. On Facebook, I am getting absolutely blasted by everybody, especially our church group, which I did rather like. This is all so frustrating and I seriously don't know what to do. That is an awful situation. And seriously, your parents suck. Like, they are awful parents. And that English teacher also sucks. They literally kicked you out of the house for something that isn't real. This was a fictional story. It didn't happen and it's not real. Regardless of your religious orientation or however you feel about God or anything like that, to kick your kid out of their house for something they wrote down that is not only real but also entirely fictional is, in my opinion, so gross and disgusting. Like, I just can't imagine you doing that to your own child. I mean, how can you honestly profess that you follow any religious deity and claim to be someone who loves one another and tries to help other people around you and be charitable and all that other stuff, while also in the same breath kicking out your child simply because you're making assumptions about them? And this is all literally over a short fictitious story that they wrote just for the heck of it. Like, I seriously can't imagine you sucking that much as a parent to do that to your own child. So to the original poster, I am seriously so sorry that you're dealing with this. Your parents are being ridiculous, and hopefully when you go off to college, you don't have to deal with them. So hopefully things work out and you're able to find some kind of solution. An entitled Karen makes a scene in Barnes & Noble, literally screaming about the outrageous prices, demanding that the hourly worker she was screaming at call up corporate and get something done about this. And this experience gave me some serious secondhand embarrassment. Here's what happened. So my husband and I sometimes love to go do an impromptu date to Barnes & Noble where we will go get breakfast and then go to the store and wander around. He usually heads to the manga section and I roam around fiction and fantasy. And usually we end up walking out with a handful of new books. It is super fun and we get to show each other what we like and get ideas for future gifts and whatnot. Anywho, we were there this past Saturday and had taken a specifically long time picking out books, so we were finally ready to leave and go home. Fast forward to us standing in line and it's great. There's only one person in front of us and one person checking out. And this is the entitled Karen of the story. This woman starts complaining about the price of every single thing as it's scanned at the register, going so far to say the teenager working absolutely must pass it on to corporate about how ridiculously expensive prices are and how it makes her not want to go there anymore. The teenager keeps trying to get her to finish checking out, but she keeps getting louder. At one point, she actually turned around to look at other people in line, and I guess she was trying to get some kind of support or something. I'm just wishing she would hurry up and stop making a scene. The kid working finally asked her if she needs a bag for 10 cents, and she flips out. It's important to note that in our state, they made it mandatory for stores to start charging for plastic bags and will ban them permanently in the next couple of years. So this shouldn't be a surprise to her at this point, since it's been in effect for about 3 months. She says to this poor worker, "Now you want to charge me for a bag? This is outrageous. You need to talk to your corporate office and do something about this." The cashier, who is also my hero, literally did not react at all to her screaming at him and was just like, "Okay, have a nice day." Anyways, I almost cheered when she finally left the store. Like, if you don't want to pay that price, just leave and don't shop there. You screaming at the top of your lungs at an hourly teenager and holding the line up isn't going to change anything, and you aren't getting any support from anyone by acting like a fool. I really can't stand when people act like this in public. They make a scene, they're trying to make some kind of weird point, and then they look around like, ooh, who has my back? Who's gonna support me in this weird outburst I'm currently conducting? Like, seriously, get over yourself. The employee that you're yelling at literally cannot change the prices, and they cannot change the fact fact that it's going to cost 10 cents to get a bag. Now, for me personally, I think charging 10 cents for a bag is really dumb, but I'm not about to start screaming at some hourly worker and demanding that they do something about this. Like, what are they going to do? Call up corporate and be like, you better stop doing this right now. Like, that's honestly ridiculous, and this entitled Karen was completely out of line. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.